is where tradition never dies. This is your radio, Cayman.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 5th day of April 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening and that you're raring to go today. For those of you who are on the roads, whether you're a pedestrian, whether you're a bicyclist, a motorcyclist, or operating some other type of motorized vehicle on the road, we urge you to be extremely careful. Please observe the rules of the road and remember that the life that you save may be your own. Today, like I said, is the 5th of April, and I'd like to extend birthday greetings this morning to Miss Joellen Thompson. She's celebrating a birthday today. I won't tell you how old she is, but she's celebrating a birthday today. And I believe, haven't been able to confirm this yet, but if my memory serves me correct, she indicated last week that her birthday was today also. Our own Radio Cayman's Miss Martha Watler is celebrating a birthday today. I hope I got that right. It's Sunday. It's on Sunday. Sorry. On Sunday, she's celebrating her birthday on Sunday. Oh, that is why I say that. Well, I have to remember to do it on Friday to wish her a happy birthday when it comes on Sunday. So, Joellen Thompson celebrating a birthday today. Miss Martha Watler celebrating a birthday on Sunday. So, Martha, when Sunday comes, we want to wish you a very, very happy birthday as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. This morning, it is the voice of our Silver Fox, Mr. Paul Akai. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. You can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. For those of you who are interested and follow Jamaican politics, you may have known by now that the by-election in East Portland was won by Anne-Marie Vaz, who is the wife of another member of Parliament in Jamaica. I think he's a minister of state as well, a minister in the Prime Minister's office, Mr. Darrell Vaz. She beat the PNP's candidate, Mr. Damian Crawford, she won by 9,917 votes to Mr. Crawford's 9,611 votes. I believe that's a difference of about 306 votes. 306 votes, the difference. So if you're interested there, the ruling Jamaica Labour Party has been able to increase its margin in the Jamaica Parliament by one additional vote as well. With that, one more thing. Some of our listeners to 105.3 FM have complained a little bit about the quality of the airing of the Legislative Assembly's meeting and the live airing of it, and we're trying to explain to them that Radio Cayman does receive a live feeding live from the Legislative Assembly. So the quality really isn't determined as much by Radio Cayman as it is by the quality of the equipment in the LA. And I'll get our guest here this morning, MLA and Leader of the Opposition, Honorable D. Ezard Miller, who's in the studio with me this morning. I'll get him to explain more in relation to that, if he may. Mr. Miller, good morning, and welcome back to For the Record, sir.
Good morning, we'll see, and good morning to listening, Cayman. Yes, we as legislators always shame to spend money on ourselves, and I think that has to do with the quality of the sound system at the LA. The mics are very directional, and if you turn away from the mic, you tend to lose a lot of the sound. And also, I don't know whether, I'm not an electronics engineer, but I don't know if they don't have any filters on it, but I also observe that listening to the rebroadcast at night, there seems to be a lot of what white noise, you call it. Mm-hmm. But most of that, I think, is generated in the LA. Okay.
And yesterday, for instance, the MLA, Mr. Arden McLean, had introduced an amendment to his private member's motion, and that was being discussed. And then all of a sudden, we lost, and Radio Cayman lost the feed. Radio Cayman went back to music, and I'm sitting there. I allowed the station to continue on for about a half an hour, thinking that maybe there's a pause to take care of that, and it's going to come back on. Never did.
I think what happened there was Mr. McLean agreed to make some minor amendments for the government, and in the process of doing that, we had to actually take a short suspension.
Okay.
Short suspensions down there, not really. Short suspensions an hour,
yes.
Right? Not 10 minutes, because they had to type it up properly and all that sort of stuff. So that's where that gap came in.
Yeah.
But if there's anybody monitoring it, or there should be a system where somebody in LA or somebody connected to Radio Cayman or can say, well, they've gone into a short suspension, and because again, if the speaker's mic is not on, I mean, even the speaker had to complain at least once yesterday that he couldn't hear what Mr. McLean was saying.
Yes.
That's not a usual complaint about Mr. McLean.
And I think the same thing happened with MLA Kenneth Bryan. Also.
So it's the fault of the sound system down there, I'm pretty certain of that.
Okay.
But that's the reason we had that interruption, and then we came back then in a very short period of time once they got the amendment sorted out and voted unanimously. And then we adjourned after that.
Okay, and what I was also surprised was that despite the fact that it started late, after about an hour and a half, there was a break for lunch.
Well, there was a debate actually, because we had an in-camera session with all members. There was a debate of whether we should actually start back, because it was 12 o'clock, or have lunch, and they decided to start back and let Mr. Chris Saunders, the member for Bodtown West, finish his contribution, because remember he hadn't finished the day before, and then they would take lunch. So that's why that was that short period.
Okay, we have two callers. Let's go straight to the phone lines. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. C. and Mr. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Miller, I'm especially glad you're in this morning. There are two questions, and I've listened to a lot of debates that I'm still not clear on. The first one is lesbian gay marriage. Is that part of a human rights, international human rights?
No, the European Court of Human Rights in Europe, which is our final appeal for human rights, has determined that marriage is not a right for anybody, not just for them, but for heterosexuals or gay sexuals. The Human Rights does not consider marriage a right.
But in the UK, their Human Rights Act has put it in as a right.
But in the UK, they also can't enforce it in Northern Ireland and Scotland.
Right, that's correct.
although the law is passed by their own parliaments.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the other question is this is, according to what I understand, that the Chief Justice does not have the power to change the law to make it legal for same-sex to marry. Okay? Now, if that is so, how can the government even give these two ladies permission to get married? And how can a minister even marry them when, if it is not legal, if he does not have the power to make it legal, then it is not legal yet.
Well,
so they are breaching the law. So that's a police case to stop them from from breaching the law.
Well, that is the reason why people like myself have argued very strongly for the appeal, because I don't believe that Section 5, over which the Chief Justice appeared to have hung his decision to give himself the authority to write legislation, all the legal advice that I have received in discussion with local attorneys and international attorneys is that there's some kind of common acceptance in law that where there's a specific provision for anything, you can't use a general clause to override it. And in fact, there were cases quoted in the debate on Friday that where the Chief Justice himself had declared that a general provision could not override a specific provision. And the normal expectation under our separation of powers is that, which is the judiciary, the legislative assembly, and the administration arm of government, is that when any court finds that a law is not in full compliance with the Constitution, there's a specific provision in the Constitution under Section 23 that says he should issue a directive and declare it that it's unconstitutional and invite the Legislative Assembly to correct the problem. There is precedence that has been done here in the past, but he took it upon himself to not only change the law, but to implement the law. And we can't implement laws ourselves down in the Legislative Assembly. We have to wait until they are what's called signed. The governor signs what's called a vellum copy on the approval of the Secretary of State before any law comes into effect.
So the bottom line is that it is not yet legal.
No. The bottom line is it is legal because he has made the decision. And it's a decision.
He doesn't have the power to do
well,
that.
that's what the higher courts have to determine. Right?
Yes.
That's why we have to appeal it, because his decision stands until it is appealed successfully or it is supported on appeal. Mm-hmm. So my position is that, and given the political environment that we're operating in, and the British government's stated intent to introduce same-sex marriages in the Cayman Islands, in fact, all of its overseas territories, I don't hold a lot of hope for an appeal process to overturn his judgment. But in absence of that, as I said in my contribution to the debate, I call on the government for us to work together to make sure it can't happen again, because I could give you several instances where we could in fact have Grand Court judges changing legislation that would be much more detrimental to Caymanians than one that the Chief Justice just made.
Caller, we're going to ask you to leave us there. Let's go to the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm supposed to be fast and rapidly. I appreciate your knowledge of Ms. Amir Mars. Right? I correspond with her on social media. I know her personally. I appreciate that around the region. And I appreciate on Wednesday now, right, that you guys illustrated in the Legislative Assembly that you guys rule the land, right? Because last week Friday, that was incredible what the CJ did, right? How you perpetrated it in our ruling, right? Like, unicorn ruling. Mm-hmm. Okay? And you now, you see the UK have a tangible agenda of annexation, incorporating, integrating as one. So they can make people come in to run for office, right? So, Wednesday now, people tell me history, right? A crucial history, right? Crucial president. And they backfire now, that they disappointed. In the UK now, the EU, they're very annoyed with them. Right? For Angela Merkel in Germany, and Macron in France, they tolerate the patience. So, you guys do best and set the trend. Okay?
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to take a commercial break now, folks. Please stay tuned. For the Record with the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable D. Ezard Miller, will continue shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
The 1980s offered a decade of monumental progress as the Cayman Islands built upon its previous few decades of prosperity. In 1981, Northwood Prison was opened, followed by the Law School in 1982. Also in 1982, the Education Department held the first National Children's Festival of the Arts, and the islands celebrated the 150th anniversary of parliamentary government. In 1983, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II visited, being the first by a reigning monarch. The turtle farm was also purchased from government, and the first phase of the F.J. Harquail Cultural Center opened. In official business, the Water Authority law came into effect, and the CI Audit Office was established. In 1984, the Cayman National Cultural Foundation law was passed, and Britannia, Cayman's first golf course, was opened. Radio Cayman's Historical Facts Vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore,
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about, because they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vamped Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vamped Motors, Walkers
Rotary
Road.
Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, Honorable Diaz Miller, Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Miller, with your permission, I would like to share with our audience a portion of the summary, the executive summary of the judgment handed down by the Chief Justice in the Chantel Day and Vicar Borden Bush who are the applicants. And the Governor of the Cayman Islands, Deputy Registrar of the Cayman Islands Government Central Registry, and the Attorney General as a respondent. In paragraph 106, and it's entitled "The Remedies to Which the Petitioners Are Entitled," goes on to say, as already noted at the outset of this judgment, the respondents accept that the law as amended in 2008 to introduce the definition of marriage as, quote, the union between a man and a woman as husband and wife, close of quotes, is an existing law for the purposes of Section 5 of the Constitutional Order. The respondents also accept that the application of Section 5.1 of the Constitutional Order is mandatory where there is unconstitutionality. So the respondents who, as I pointed out, the Governor, the Deputy Registrar, and the Attorney General, and of course their lawyers, Sir Jeffrey Joel, acting on their behalf, accepted that, right? 107 says, accordingly, the matter falls to be dealt with under Section 5.1 of the Order. Section 5.1 is clear existing law, shall be read and construed with such modifications, etc., as may be necessary. emphasis added, that means that the Chief Justice added that emphasis, to bring them into conformity with the Constitution and to prevent avoidance pursuant to the Colonial Laws Validity Act 1865 due to repugnancy. In urging the court to exercise this power to modify the law so as to bring it into conformity with the Bill of Rights, the petitioners make the following points, which are worth noting, notwithstanding the mandatory nature of the duty imposed upon the Grand Court. The mandatory duty imposed, and he's talking about that duty imposed under the Colonial Laws Validity Act 1865. Goes on to say, they say that the legislature could itself have opened marriage to same-sex couples or passed legislation providing the bare minimum mandated by O'Leary. That's another case that was there. The legislature chose not to do so. Consequent on this failure, it now falls to the judicial arm of the government to apply Section 5 of the order to modify existing law. That is the constitutional settlement provided for by the order. That is the power granted by the United Kingdom Parliament to enforce the Bill of Rights. It is also the power delegated to the courts of the overseas territories to ensure that the United Kingdom is not in breach of its international obligations under the convention insofar as the convention is reflected in the Bill of Rights. It is part of the check and balance that addresses past actions or current inactions of the local legislative or executive arms of government. Similar provisions to Section 5 of the order exist in the constitutional arrangements of other British overseas territories and former British territories which are now independent nations. There is settled case law which confirms that in case of repugnancy, the courts must apply Section 5 to make such modifications, adaptations, qualifications, and exceptions as may be necessary to bring the law into conformity with the Constitution. So, obviously, he relied on the Colonial Validity Act of 1865, and the respondents, their representative, accepted that was in place and that could be done.
I wasn't there, but I don't think that was entirely so. Because I think that they question because he's using the Colonial Act to justify his generous interpretation of grabbing onto himself the authority to make legislation under Section 5. That's what he's using the Colonial Act to do.
Well, I think he's using that to, maybe we're saying the same thing. He's using that to say that's where he gets the legal authority to be able to change it.
But then my question is, if that is so, why did the Chief Justice himself, in an earlier case, declare that, I don't remember the name of the case here now, that specific provisions, that general provisions, such as is contained in Section 5, cannot override specific conditions in the Constitution, provisions in the Constitution. And we have a specific provision in our Constitution under Section 23 to deal with his discovery of incompatibility that he could have used, right? But he chose to do it on his further argument that the LA had not. Now, let me tell you something. Me people down to LA can't set no time period for the judges, right? I got a case in my constituency now where I got person on bail three times in 1 year for the same for multiple offences under the same law. When I called them up to discuss the bail law, they said they're not talking to me because it's sub judice. Now the decisions on the bail law, they said, we can't get up in Parliament and say, well, we think the calendar for the court should be improved. He can't tell us when that.
Okay, we have to go to the 8
We
o'clock.
won't come back to this after the break.
Oh, yeah, we certainly will come back to this after the break as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Radio Cayman time check is now 8 a.m. This time check is brought to you courtesy of Price Right.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Priced Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman-Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access and information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. The world's largest travel site, TripAdvisor, has named Cayman Airways Limited the best airline in the Caribbean and a top specialty and leisure airline within the North American region. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
In the airline category, the Traveler's Choice Awards highlight Globetrotters' favorite airlines around the world, focusing on things like outstanding service, quality, and value. Cayman Airways management says they're thrilled at the news. President and CEO Fabian Worm says that for more than 5 decades, Cayman Airways has been focused on ensuring that those who fly us love us. And in an effort to deliver on that promise, he says the Cayman Airways family goes to great lengths to provide a pleasant and safe travel experience, filled with the best of our, quote, warm Caymanian hospitality. He says the board of directors, management, and staff of the airline are therefore very proud and appreciative of the TripAdvisor awards, which recognize those efforts. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
In other news, that's the sound of a small nurse shark trapped inside an illegal fish pot. The Department of Environment says the pot with an expired license tag that was illegally set inside a marine replenishment zone in South Sound was recovered by Department of Environment officers just in time. The shark was freed by conservation officers who removed the pot from the water after the pot was spotted by an alert snorkeler. All fish pots must be licensed and cannot be used inside marine protected areas. In regional news, Jamaican political ombudsman Donna Parchment Brown is investigating what she has called credible allegations of vote buying in this week's high-stakes Eastern Portland by-election. Parchment Brown told the Jamaica Gleaner that police would be investigating the claims as her office seeks to make an example of possible lawbreakers. She said the complaints have come from one party in particular. The political ombudsman said that while she herself did not witness any vote buying, her office was interested in collecting license plate numbers, locations, and eyewitness statements relating to the claims. Parchment Brown stressed that even though the by-election was over, anyone found to be guilty of participating in vote buying would be pursued. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News. The British Prime Minister Theresa May has asked the President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, for another short delay to the country's departure from the EU until the end of June this year. She said Britain would continue preparing to take part in May's European elections in case this was necessary. Earlier, it was reported that Mr Tusk would propose a much longer, year-long extension. It's reported that the head of Algeria's intelligence services has been sacked as anti-government protesters promise another day of mass demonstrations. He was an ally of the veteran President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who quit earlier this week. Activists say the Saudi authorities have detained 8 people in a fresh targeting of supporters of women's rights. Most of them have ties with women activists already on trial. Both the remaining contenders in Ukraine's presidential election have submitted to drugs and alcohol tests. These have been made a precondition for a televised debate at the insistence of the man who won the first round, the comedian Volodymyr Zelensky. People have gathered outside the Belarusian capital to prevent further demolition of wooden crosses at a makeshift memorial for victims of Stalin's purges buried there. The leader of a Christian party said there were plans to hold nightly prayers for the tens of thousands of people interred at the spot. German police have searched the home of a man suspected of sending threats to courts and government offices. The right-wing extremist threats of violence prompted the evacuation of several buildings last month. The European Commission says it believes the German car manufacturers BMW, Daimler and Volkswagen have colluded to restrict competition on the development of car emission control technology. It says the companies may have denied consumers the chance of buying cars with the best available technology. BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
I grew up with diabetes. The easy part is controlling it with insulin. The hard part is living with diabetes. But there's hope.
Sol Cayman and Asso Station dealers are teaming up with the Cayman Islands Diabetes Association in their goal to create awareness and provide education to their community. Until April 12th, 5 cents from every gallon of fuel sold will be donated to the Cayman Islands Diabetes Association on your behalf. Fill up at any Asso station today and fight diabetes together.
The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by
Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Let's take a look at your latest weather. Present temperature 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Relative humidity 88%. Winds are out of the northeast at 9 knots. And the barometric pressure is at 30.00 and rising. Synopsis: partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated showers and possible thunder are expected across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours as an upper-level trough moves over the Western Caribbean. Forecast for today: partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a 40% chance of showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will rise to the mid-80s. Winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Later on tonight, partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and a 30% chance of late-night showers. Temperatures will fall to the low 70s. Winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. We're at a low tide. High tide is coming up at 9:15. It's going to be low at 3:38 this afternoon and high at 10:02 tonight. Sunset is at 6:39. Sunrise for tomorrow at 6:17. And the outlook is for a decrease in cloudiness and showers from Saturday night as the upper level trough moves over the Central Caribbean. That's your latest weather.
The Country Tom 40 just keeps rolling on.
Hi, this is Bob Kingsley, and this weekend on the Countdown, the 40 hottest hits on the radio right here.
CT40. This here's Saturday afternoon.
From 12:15 until 3:30.
CT40 milestone.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10. On sale now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky. See you at the games.
Carifta 2019.
It's all about unity.
Get your tickets now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government, CUC, Salt Technology Group, the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, DART, Miracle Broker, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, World Gym, and Radio Cayman.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
Good morning. Taking a look at traffic out of the east-west arterial. It is a little way backed up as you make your way into Georgetown. Similar circumstances along Crew Road, also along Lidford Pearson Highway. But once getting into Georgetown along Huldah Avenue, traffic is moving as you head along North Sound Road or along Elgin Avenue. Most streets in Georgetown are very much clear. Of course, the roundabout in the vicinity of A.L. Thompson very much busy with traffic coming off of Godfrey Nixon Way, Esley Tibbetts Highway and thereabouts. We invite you to buckle up and stay safe. Enjoy the ride. For the Record is coming up shortly.
Hi, I'm Dawn McLean Brady, president of the Cayman Islands Small Business Association, better known as CISPA. Small businesses drive Cayman's economy. As small business owners, we depend on government to create an environment where we, as entrepreneurs, can do what we do best, and that's to provide products and services that are valuable to our customers and, in turn, employ others. The cruise piers and cargo ports provide these opportunities. Encourage our government to build a port and let the Caymanian entrepreneurial spirit shine. Support the port, support our tourism.
Ray, are you ready for a special April edition of Siwa Saying this Friday?
Yes, this Friday we're talking about Easter traditions, Easter customs.
Even the Easter Bunny?
Even the Easter Bunny, but that's on a Goody though for us.
A Goody and the Easter Bunny is one and the same?
Yeah, and they're part of the rodent family, just so you know.
Siwa Saying. I always wondered how you can get eggs from a bunny.
I have no idea.
Are they chocolate covered eggs?
If they are, I don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, chocolate factory.
Just join us and we'll work this all out.
This Friday, special April edition of
Siwa Saying is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Proudly brought to you by Cayman National Bank, serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, none other than Honorable D. Ezard Miller, leader of the opposition. And you may have heard me last Friday pose the question to MLAs Mr. Chris Saunders, Mr. Arden McLean, and Mr. Alva Suku. Is the leader of the opposition now the leader of one or two? And we will answer that. We will get Mr. Miller to answer that later on as well. Don't worry, the controversy on For the Record will continue. But before we go there, I mentioned an act in the UK, the Colonial Laws Validity Act 1865, and mentioning it for the laypersons, including myself and all of those out there in the listening audience, I want to tell you what the Colonial Laws Validity Act 1865 is. It is an act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom. Its long title is an act to remove doubts as to the validity of colonial laws. And remember now, Mr. Mickey Hurlston continues to remind us that we are still a colony of the United Kingdom. We may call ourselves, or they may call us overseas territories. That is a nice, pretty language, way of explaining that we're still colonies and we're still colonized. The purpose of this, the act, was to remove any apparent inconsistency between local, that is colonial, and British, that is imperial, legislation. Thus, it confirmed that colonial legislation, provided it had been passed in the proper manner, was to have full effect within the colony, limited only to the extent that it was not in contradiction with, that is, repugnant to, any act of Parliament that contained powers which extended beyond the boundaries of the United Kingdom to include that colony. This had the effect of clarifying and strengthening the position of colonial legislatures, while at the same time restating their ultimate subordination to the Westminster Parliament. Until the passage of the Act, a number of colonial statutes had been struck down by local judges on the grounds of repugnancy to English laws, whether or not those English laws had been intended by Parliament to be effective in the colony. This has been a particular problem for the governments in South Australia, where a justice there had struck down local statutes on numerous occasions in the colony's Supreme Court. By the mid-1920s, the British government accepted that the Dominion should have full legislative autonomy. Accordingly, the Imperial Parliament passed the Statute of Westminster, which repealed the application of the Colonial Laws Validity Act to the dominions, that is, Australia, Canada, the Irish Free State, New Zealand, Newfoundland, and the Union of South Africa. It didn't apply to the Cayman Islands or the other overseas territories where they passed the Statute of Westminster, which made the Colonial Laws Validity Act not applicable to them. Do we have a caller, Paul? No call? Mr. Miller.
But you remember now that our Constitution order, right, is ordered by the Privy Council in England based on the on an application by the executive from the Deuce, right? So the difficulty I have, and my concern is not being a lawyer or a constitutional expert, right?
Or not even having stayed at a Holiday Inn recently,
you know,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, I try to stay above a Holiday Inn, but anyway, it is the knock-on effect of this, right? Because there's great risk if this ruling is allowed to stand, and I think if we fail, as I've said, I believe we will, right? In appealing the Chief Justice's judgment in this case, the Parliament needs to get busy very urgently to make whatever amendment we can negotiate with the United Kingdom to make sure that Section 5, the interpretation of Section 5, does not go beyond the legislative making the corrective action to prevent judges. Let me give you a ready example. We have people in the Cayman Islands who have Cayman status, who are registered to vote as electors, but they can't stand for office because the requirement for office requires you to be born of at least one Caymanian parent at the time of your birth. So one of them decides to go down to the election office and says, I want to register to be a candidate in the next election. But there's no time frame that says that when you can do that, you know. Right? The election office will have to say to that first generation Cayman status holder that I can't do it because our current requirements to run in the Legislative Assembly prohibits it. They take that to the same Chief Justice for appeal. And he decides that their rights, because remember now they're already an elector, you know, that their rights are being curtailed as an elector because they can't stand for election. And he amends our election law to say that anybody registered to vote in the Cayman Islands can stand as a candidate. How long do you think people like me and other Caymans are going to be down in the Legislative Assembly? Because remember now, Caymanians are already outnumbered in the workforce. We're outnumbered. Anyway, we go, we're outnumbered. The only places we're not outnumbered now is in the graveyards, right? And when we go to funerals and sometimes weddings, you're likely to be outnumbered at a wedding now too, because many of the friends are. So those kinds of things will change the whole and make nobody fool, Those people, the only thing that these new Caymanians and other people in this country who have garnered economic power away from Caymanians don't have, that they want, is political power.
Yeah.
They have political power through economic influence, But even then, when they use their economic influence to get a particular person elected, they can't control everything they say down in L.A. But if they get themselves elected, they can control what they say.
I'd like to come back to that a little later on as well. We have two callers. Let's go to the phone lines. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, see how you doing? Good morning.
I'm fine. Good morning to you.
I hear Mr. Miller's on the video.
Yes, he is.
All right, I have something I would like to say. I've seen in the paper about our premier appealing this contamination that this Chief Justice has taken rule on. Is that correct?
The legislature has done that as well.
No, but the cabinet had already. The cabinet
had already
the
agreed.
cabinet decided on Tuesday to instruct the Attorney General to appeal the decision of the Chief Justice. But it is notable that the governor, who was one of the respondents, is being prohibited by, I would assume,
FCO.
By his boss, the FCO, from being a party to the appeal. So it is being appealed by the Attorney General on instructions from the cabinet.
You there, caller?
Well, Mr. See what I think right now. I am one of the seamen that helped build this island. And we want to ask that Chief Justice to step down because he have no respect for our island or our people. I went to sea in West Seaman. We built this island. When Fidel Castro came here to invade our island, we asked Jamaica to help us, and they said they could not help us. We had to defend ourselves with Fidel Castro. If not, we wouldn't have a Cayman Islands today. And I think it's time for we Cayman Islands seamen, since we have to come out to do it, to defend our country and defend this island now. Number two, I think it is time. They say they have 100 and odd different nationalities in this island, and we are outnumbered. I think it's time for us to deal with that also. Remember, we have Caymanians that was in the Freeport, Bahamas for over 30 years, where the Caymanian children born in the Bahamas, and they was kicked out in a repatriation. So wherever they was born, they say, is your bus? That is not true. Because if it was true, why would they move the Bahamians that born in Bahamas and send them back to their country, which was Crosby Walton and his children? I wonder if you know about that.
Yep, I'm aware of it. I have family that was in the same position.
Well, all right. You have people coming here demanding they want to stay here and they want to do this. What did they do to help we when we needed help? I think it's time for us to do what we have to do and get some of these people off of this island and get them off this island now. So we, the Seamen, are going to have to speak to the president of the Seamen Association and see if we can get ourselves together and do what we have to do. We asking that Chief Justice to step down. We do not want him to be our Chief Justice anymore. We have Steve McField. We have David Rich that can take them two positions, and I think it's time for us, our own people. I'm sick of seeing this and hearing this, and this local common labor, this cheap labor is what destroying this island, letting in all of these old people coming here that not even used to $1 a day. We're not used to that. We're not used to that. When I was doing the steel work on the other airport, I was the steel man that put up all of those columns and them floors, and I was paying my guys $7.50 at that time. Even Mr. Roscoe was working with me. This cheap labor has destroyed our country, and it's time for us to get some of these people out of this island. We are sick of people dictating to us and coming here and want to own the beach, they want to own the sea, they want to... Well, see, please.
Okay.
Please.
You make some valid points, caller. You make some valid points.
Very valid.
Please. We have to do what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot make people come here and we slaves for this island or sea. We defended with Fidel Castro. We asked to make her to help us. Jamaica say they cannot help us because Fidel is building schools and hospitals in Jamaica at the present time as he was invading our island.
Caller, we're going to ask you to leave us there. We get what you say, and that is commendable of you. If you want to get the seamen involved in this, if they're not already involved on an individual basis as well. Let's go to the next caller. We're going to take a break at 8:30, so I believe we can accommodate one, maybe two calls before the break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record.
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good, and good morning to the Honorable Mr. Ezra Miller.
Good morning, sir.
Steve McFeel here.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I think if you have you got the 2009 constitutional order before you?
Yes, I do.
Well, you read Section 5, the existing laws. Yes. Section 1.
Mm-hmm.
Read Section 2.
Of Section 5, it's quite clear to say the legislature shall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How is it that he doesn't quote Section 2 in his judgment?
But it doesn't suit the argument he won't put down.
Section 2 clearly says, Section 2 says where there's exceptions and where declaration is made, that's what it means by the court to say that something is not incompatible with the Constitution and the validity the 1865 Act, that the court can make a declaration to that effect. And Section says the legislature may by law make such amendment to any existing laws as appear to it to be unnecessary or expedient to bring that law into conformity with the Constitution, or otherwise giving effect to the Constitution and any existing law. That means the 1865 law, and shall have effect accordingly from such day, not being earlier than the appropriate day, as may be specified in the law made by the legislature. It's quite clear.
But Doc, so do you think that he's still that the 1865 law also gave him the nuclear option, because he said he must. The West Indian Act clearly states that all of those old acts is subordinate to this new 1962 West Indian Act, that where all these things are made from. And look at his judgment of the Privy Council when he went there to keep Henderson. You remember that case? Look and see what they told him, that those acts don't apply. Then he has to come back to the legislature here, to the Constitution here. Okay, very interesting.
And so that act is subject to the new 1962 West Indian Act.
Question for you, Doc. If the Court of Appeals indicate their acceptance of the appeal, does that then say that they have seen something there that the appellants have a good argument for and a good chance?
But there's a right of appeal. There's a right of appeal, and if you read Section 23, there's a right of appeal. If you read the Section 3 of the Constitution, there's a right of appeal.
So the Court of Appeals has to accept that appeal. They have no discretion in saying, well, we don't think that you have a chance in hell, excuse my expression, of winning the appeal, so we won't accept it?
Exactly. So all of these things in the CNS and all the time about the money's lost and there's no, and should not be appealed, that is all the propaganda from these people. There's a right of appeal. Read Section 23.
Okay, Doc. Thank you very much for that. We have to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. When we return, all those callers who are queued up, we will be taking your calls as well.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500 like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
This week at Kirk Home Center, light up on energy savings with 8-watt LED cool white light bulbs for $229 each. Stack shoes, slippers, and sneakers on an 8-tier shoe tower for $35.49. Save on Pratt & Lambert's 5-gallon gold exterior flat latex paint for $134.99. And enjoy patio dining with a 5-piece dining set including chairs, cushions, and table for $539.99.
Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to straight to the phone lines. As promised, 2 callers on hold. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, Wasi, and good morning, Edward.
Good morning, sir.
I'm so saddened to see how this little island that, people can come from every place and do what they want here, and they get it. Let me give you something that I've always said that we have complacency is a big problem in Cayman. We see and hear about things happening in other countries, and it's like when you hear about some disease or something out there, all of a sudden we start preparing for it because we don't know. Certain things we should be prepared for all the time. And I'm going to give you an example. Like here we all talk about our religious heritage and how we're a God-fearing island and all this stuff. We believe in the Bible. We read the Bible. We trust in the Bible. We say Bible it's God's word. And we've probably got more churches per capita than any place that I know. But the thing is, I read in the paper yesterday where I think it's up in Dubai or someplace like that where these people, now I don't know if their intent is to actually stone people or this is a way to get people to make the law so that people would think twice before they do anything. When they were talking about the gay marriage.
Brunei, you're talking about this Brunei, Kingdom of Brunei.
Yeah. Now in the Bible, anybody who read the Bible knows that people were stoned, not just for that kind of thing. I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed because of it. But that, even when a parent has a son or a daughter or a son, I don't remember exactly what chapter it is, where if he doesn't listen to the parents and stuff like that, that if they try to get him to do the right thing, if he does not do the right thing, they would take him out in the public and stone him. What I'm saying is, here we are talking about the Bible, and we believe in the Bible, and I'm not suggesting that we should do these things. But I'm saying that when we quote the Bible for certain things because it's convenient, but we don't want to quote the Bible when things don't agree with our agreement. And this is one of the problems we have in Cayman. We let people come here from every place in the world, and they come down here and they say, oh, well, we did this and state we did. Remember when Madeleine O'Hare, the woman from Texas, when this was the beginning of the end where it comes to the Bible ethic. When she went to court and the Supreme Court of the United States allowed this one kid to prevent people from other children who were parents were religious and wanted to serve God from praying in school. Imagine that. And the same thing is happening with this gay thing because some bunch of derelict people that want to do these things decide they're going to do it, and they have rights. A person can go out there and kill somebody or kill a family, shoot 10 or 12 people, and then the bleeding heart lawyers will take, when he goes to court, they can come up and say, well, he has rights. But nobody talks about the dead people, the families, the people that died. This is the convolution of laws in the world today, you see? And half of the time, it's all about, you got these lawyers who would come up with that stuff because if they win a case, then they're going to be well into the thing for the next case to come up, and they're going to make plenty money. It's all based on things like money and that kind of thing. What I'm saying, gentlemen, is this. Let us, if we are a Christian nation, let us abide by the book. And I truly believe that God's word is the word, to go by. We must stop letting foreign nationals come here and tell us because they got a QC. Remember, QC doesn't mean that you're a better lawyer than anybody else. If you have served the Queen for so many years, you become a QC. It's almost automatic. So when you hear these people talking about they got a QC and a Q this and that, they're no smarter than most people. But they were elevated up there, just like in the House of London, legislators in England. You see that they come up with things like you got the House of Lords, then you got the House of Commons.
Caller, I'm going to ask you to cut it short for me, please.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is these are things that we adopt because it was said in England or it was said some other larger country. But nobody thinks about it because it's just convoluted. That's the only thing I can tell you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Have a good day, my friend.
Thank you very much. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. I just have a query. With regards to our Constitution, a very learned gentleman said to me that it appears that our Constitution is not totally enshrined or sort of like enacted or something to that effect, meaning that it's not foolproof. It's like not when it was changed that certain steps had to be taken and they were not, and basically that's why it's constantly being manipulated. And I'm just wondering if that's so, because that is the top law of the country. Mm-hmm. And if anyone basically can manipulate it, then, and because it's not hard pressed or cemented in, or however you want to term that, then why are we not making strides to deal with that then?
Mm-hmm. Good question, caller. Just like any legislation, go ahead, Mr. Miller, you first.
Fully enforced. This was made by Order in Council, 10th day of June 2009, and Section 2, appointed day means the day appointed by the governor under Section 1-2, and this order may be cited as the Cayman Islands Constitution in 2009. This order shall come into force on such day as the governor, acting on his or her discretion, shall appoint by proclamation published in the Government Gazette. All that was done. Yeah. There's the human rights section of it, the first part of it, was not brought in until 2012, 3 years after, because we had to put in place certain legislation and certain administrative procedures. But the Constitution itself was and remember, this Constitution, unlike any other Constitution, was decided by the people of the Cayman Islands and approved by referendum.
But like any piece of legislation, it is not foolproof, and it is only when you start to work with it that you sometimes will then identify some of the pitfalls, some of the shortcomings, and that is why you have what is the equivalent to a constitutional court in the Cayman Islands in terms of the Grand Court to make any decisions in relation to constitutionality, as well. But that's a very good question that you posed. Thank you very much, caller. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning again.
Good morning again, Doc.
I just wanted to make a clarification before I go, because I know that people listen to the radio and they will listen to what I said. They will go to the Constitution, will not find the place that I said.
Mm-hmm.
The section that I wanted to say was not section 22, but section 26. It says, if in any proceedings in any court established in the Cayman Islands other than the Grand Court or the Court of Appeal, any issue arises as to the interpretation of the Bill of Rights, the court in which the question has arisen shall refer the question to the Grand Court. And then it says, an appeal shall lie as of right to the Grand Court, to the Court of Appeal, from any final determination of any issue by the Grand Court under the Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
And an appeal shall lie as of right from the Grand Court to the appeal to Her Majesty in Council. But no appeal shall lie from a determination by the Grand Court under this section dismissing an application on the grounds that it is frivolous or vexatious. He never made a decision that was frivolous or vexatious. He said it was an issue that had to be tried, and that's the reason why he didn't award any damages.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an appeal as of right. There's an appeal as of right. So when you have an appeal as of right, how come the decision takes effect immediately?
Yeah, the decision shouldn't come into effect until the appeal process has been exhausted, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Doc, where do we go? Where do we go then to have a stay of execution of that the judgment?
You have to go to the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
And then because the Court of Appeal is not staying, the problem is you have to go to a Grand Court judge who's appointed as a Court of Appeal judge for the purposes of hearing the application for the state.
Got you. Thanks for explaining that to us, Doc. Thank you very much.
And just to confirm what Dr. McField said earlier about the West Indies Act,
Mm-hmm.
the Constitution says the Queen's most excellent Majesty in Council, Her Majesty in exercise of the powers conferred upon her by Section 5 and 7 of the West Indies Act 1962.
Exactly.
One and all other powers enabling her to do so is pleased by and with the advice of her council to order, and it is ordered as follows, that the Constitution come into effect and the commencement and everything else. Mm-hmm. The whole Constitution follows that.
It comes after the validity act, and that act is subject to what is written in the Constitution.
Right.
But, Doc, there was another point that you raised, too, that the Chief Justice didn't mention Section 5.2.
Yeah.
But in paragraph 23 of the summary of judgment, he does say that the principles laid down by Section 5 in the Constitution order are of fundamental importance to the task presented to this court. They reflect the relationship between colonial legislation and the imperial parliaments, which have been entrenched in British constitutional law. So basically, he refers to Section 5, not just 5.1 or 5.2, but the whole Section 5.
But 5.2 prohibits him from... 5.2 says the legislature must do so, not the court.
But in saying Section 5, he's including 1 and 2.
No. Orrett. He did not. He said that it was against the Bill of Rights that sets out in Section 16.2.
Yeah.
You know the Section 16.2 that says that you cannot discriminate on the grounds of sex, race, color. Okay. But then Section 16 has so many exemptions. That doesn't apply if the government is raising taxes in the island or fees or grants for licenses. It doesn't apply for employment of people who enter the Cayman Islands want to do business or profession or movement or residence within the Caymans who are not Caymanians. The Bill of Rights does not apply to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And then it says, for the application in the case of persons of any description or grounds, as is mentioned in Section 2, or of persons connected with such persons of the law with respect to adoption, marriage, divorce, burial, devolution of property on death, or other like manner that is the personal law applicable to persons of that description. In other words, marriage, adoption, divorce, burial, devolution of property is exempted from the provisions of discrimination in Section 16, 1 and 2.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yep, understood.
Because Section 4, under which that falls, says shall, doesn't say may, shall.
Exactly. and also the employment of people in the civil service or the government corporations who description have to be Caymanians. In other words, if you say only a Caymanian can work in the government, only a Caymanian can work in the police, only a Caymanian can work in immigration, so forth, that's not discrimination.
Yep. Okay.
And the European Court of Human Rights says, as Mr. Miller said this morning, that marriage is not a right under the Bill of Rights. And it's up to every court, it's up to every country to set their law as to when they refuse to marry.
But the UK Human Rights Act does...
Okay, Human Rights Act is only for the UK.
But we're still calling it we're part of the UK, Doc.
No, we have our subsidiary legislation. The only way we don't have legislation, that there's legislation override.
Exactly. The UK only...
We have the authority to make laws here for ourselves.
But the UK has the authority to... the UK has the authority to that is what the Colonial Validities Act is all about.
No, but the UK has the authority to make law, but the law that they made in this hand is what he's going against, which is the Constitution order.
Okay.
That's their law.
Okay. Doc, we're going to ask you to leave us there. We have to go to a commercial break, and we still have a few calls on hold as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
I remember playing at 7 Mile Beach as a boy, eating mango by the sea, learning how to snorkel. My mother, she worked so hard to provide for our family so that we could have those moments. Seeing her age has been tough. That strong, capable woman, now in need of daily support, it's my time to be strong for her.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10. On sale now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky. See you at the games.
Carifta 2019.
Get Get your tickets now at CaymanCaribta2019.ky. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government, CUC, Salt Technology Group, the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, DART, Miracle Broker, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, World Gym, and Radio Cayman.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going straight to the phone lines again. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor.
Good morning.
And Mr. Miller, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mom.
Okay. I'm Kay Powering. I have a query.
Mm-hmm.
Why by the Humane Society, their cars run there like they're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The people are walking dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And the last Saturday morning, a couple of weeks ago, we put a dog in there, and we went to walk it last Saturday morning, myself and my granddaughter. And my granddaughter came within feet of being something that the shovel would have to take up on the road, her and the puppy.
Wow.
Feet. I know I lost 10 years off of my life. I could already see her and the puppy being scraped up off the road. I mean, there needs to be a sleeping policeman. I mean, a real one that they can't fly over. You know, you have some of those that you got to take your time. They're not asking you anything. They're making you do it. They're making you slow down. They need to have one of those on the left and one on the right, because the people have to pass the two lanes in order to get back. Well, they have to pass the two sides of the street.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What about some sort of a crosswalk with controls rather than sleeping police?
Well, why I say sleeping policeman? Because when I say sleeping, I don't mean those little kind that you just put, you have,
Mm-hmm.
they have some down by the West Bay Library
Mm-hmm.
that you don't just fly over them.
Yep.
They make you stop.
Mm-hmm.
So at least you give the people time to see what's going on and maybe save their life.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that something be done before we scrape somebody up off the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's better safe than sorry.
Okay, now, and I know this doesn't excuse the bad and aggressive driving that we see on the road, but that where the Humane Society is located now, you know, on a major thoroughfare there, consideration may need to be given to relocation as well, because there are many people out there walking dogs.
Sure that I take your point, but I am sure that the sleeping policeman would be a lot less costly than them relocating. Taking into account, they have a lot of dogs and a lot of cats.
Thank you very much, caller.
I'm not finished.
Not finished yet? Okay, go right ahead.
No,
don't want to restrict you. Don't want to restrict you.
This is probably my first time in the country, so there's no
Go right ahead.
yet.
Go right ahead.
I would like to know, Mr. Miller,
As well.
if anything at all can be done for people like me and Cresswell that own apartments, that have people in them that has bought an apartment but thinks they own the compound. And forget about taking your argument to the police, because I don't know which police serves their community. But this police area, this police section that we have in West Bay, you know what this is? A man screwed off a cap outside of his window. He must have had his toilet. I'm sorry to tell you, I gotta bring it right out. He must have had his toilet plugged and too cheap to go get a plumber. Screw that cap off that lets out the liquid part of it into the and all the rest of the stuff was that compound. When Cresswell called, you know what they told him? That's a civil affair. That's a civil matter. Hey, what are we paying you for decoration? They can get it cheaper, go into the stores, buying it. We're not paying them for decoration. We're paying them for service. No, that's one. That's 1 week. The next week, 4 palms, almost half-grown palms, worth $90 and up by the nurseries. She chopped off, I say she, because that's major one that gives the trouble. The first one was a different apartment. But this other thing now is one other apartment. When Cresswell went there to complain, that's a civil matter. Where is our rights?
That should be destruction of property.
That is what I need Mr. Miller to assist us with. We are going to commit murder down here, you know. Now we put boulders. Last week because she with some other ones have the audacity to park their hot cars right up against the plants. It's right up against where you can't even get to water your plants. So Cressa said, okay, we'll put boulders down to at least not make them get right up against it. We put 10 boulders in different places. We come this morning, there's 3 boulders on the property, 7 is nowhere to be found. Now, is that theft? Or is that right? Is that the right?
But do you have a strata? Do you have it under strata, and this person happens to own one?
Under strata, and these excuse of a place is finally arriving. But nothing will be done, Mr. Miller.
Okay, well, I think you need to sort them out under the strata thing, but certainly destruction of property is a matter the police should be willing to deal with.
Yes, but they are so proper.
Yeah.
That's none of their business.
And it suits so.
Beg you, Mr. Miller, before Cresswell or I commit murder, to come to our rescue, because these things that we have hired down here is an excuse. It's a sin. It is a disgrace because they're being paid for decoration. And we don't need their decoration.
Let me know what happened today, and I'll see if I can have a word with the top cop.
Well, I would like your number because we
327-5757. I think Mr. Cresswell has it.
Cresswell has it?
I think so. 327-5757.
The honorable number? No. Well, excuse me, Mr. Miller. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Write it down. Write it down, Cresswell.
327.
Right here. He's here.
Okay.
327.
327.
5757.
57.
57. Right. Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much for that. Let's go to the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning, OC, and good morning.
Good morning. We got you at a bad time. We're probably going to ask you to talk and then hold on until our headline news if you want to say more.
Yeah, sure. How much time now?
Go right ahead.
Oh, you want to take your break now?
No, we're going to take. I'm going to interrupt you in about 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a common thing. So
I know you were going to say that.
I have my hand on the switch, so that if you say anything about it, I just click.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to write to the Human Rights Committee. I'm going to complain about the discriminatory practices of this.
Yeah, I bet you don't get no press release.
Listen, that wasn't a press release. That was an intellectual beatdown. I've never seen any commission in the Cayman Islands write something as robust as that. So you guys should.
Well, you might consider it an election a beatdown, but I think he was way outside his boundary when he started talking to us about. Huh?
Everybody's outside of their boundaries in Cayman. It's just we choose to rein in some, and we choose.
Yeah,
to
I know.
Slide, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Miller, now that I know you're the QC for Northside and you're willing to address landlord tenant sort of issues, I got a multitude of problems that I think I need to talk to you about.
Well, that's okay. Meet me at breakfast tomorrow morning. I'll bring my notepad and my invoice book.
Not my Sabbath, I can't do that for plus.
All right.
So there you go. But in all seriousness, I got one. I'm going to stay on until after the break, right? But Jens, first question is, then Mr. OC, please opine because you've been at the highest levels of government. Jens, when you have an issue of national urgency in the way that this emotive constitutional issue or ruling from the CJ has occurred, would it not be fair to have the expectation that all members of cabinet speak to this, since we decided to make this the most important thing facing the Cayman Islands? Because I think I followed this quite carefully, and we had 3 cabinet ministers who did not contribute to the debate in any way, shape, or form. And I would have thought, or you guys can correct me, Mr. Miller as well, because you're a very senior elected official, does that mean that their silence was essentially acceptance of all that was said, given the tone, rhetoric, and the vitriolic sort of message that came from the government benches at times?
Okay.
That's the first question.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to hold there on that first question. We're going to go to the headline news now.
Just silent gives consent.
And when we come back, we're going to continue with you, Mr. Moxham. Folks, please stay tuned. Headline is just for a minute or two, and we will be back.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The world's largest travel site, TripAdvisor, has named Cayman Airways Limited the best airline in the Caribbean and a top specialty and leisure airline within the entire North America region. The announcement comes as part of TripAdvisor's 2019 Traveler's Choice Awards results for airline categories issued April 2nd. UK Prime Minister Theresa May has written to the European Union to request a further delay to Brexit until June 30th. The UK is currently due to leave the European Union on April 12th, and as yet no withdrawal deal has been approved by MPs. The Prime Minister has proposed that if UK MPs approve a deal in time, the UK should be able to leave before European parliamentary elections on May 23rd. And Saudi Arabia has detained at least 7 people, including 2 dual U.S.-Saudi citizens, over their links to women rights activists. Those arrested are reportedly not frontline activists, but writers and bloggers who've discussed reform. They had already been under a travel ban since February. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We still have Mr. Moxham on hold. You there, Mr. Moxham?
Yes, sir, Mr.
And Mr. Miller's response was, does silent mean consent? Old saying that we used to have.
I didn't hear Mr. Miller's response, sorry.
I said we have an old adage in Cayman, silence gives consent.
Okay, so see, can you opine?
And we also have legislation that says silence can infer guilt.
Yeah.
Under the penal, I think it's under the penal code or something about. Yeah.
Okay, no, the reason why I ask is because if this is the most pressing issue that the country was faced and everything needed to come to a stop, the proceedings of the House, they needed to address this because the world was coming to an end by virtue of the fact that the CJ made his ruling and 2 consenting adults chose to make a life together. How can those in leadership positions go missing at a time like this, especially when they all have aspirations to succeed the current premier in leading that group? So that is one general question or observation that I think has to be made. But the second point, or the second question would be this. Mr. Miller and Mr. O.C., I understand parliamentary privilege, and I'm fortunate enough to have a sound tertiary-level education. But gentlemen, have we reached a stage as a country where, as a fallout or as a result of the CJ's ruling, legislators can go to the LA use the protection of parliamentary privilege and basically encourage civil disobedience, preach hate, intolerance, bigotry, and then promote, for the want of a better phrase, civil disobedience and potentially riots. Because how does the cabinet, how does anybody in government, how does the Speaker of the House, how does 19 MLAs allow for any member to actively encourage the public to go and disrupt a private ceremony between two consenting adults because of their religious beliefs, because of their political beliefs, because of the emotive topic, and nobody sees that that is essentially leading us down the road to anarchy when you have the elected leadership who are using faith-based reasoning to promote civil disobedience, trespass, potentially lead to criminal activity, and nobody, and again, I'm going back to my first questions, the three cabinet members that chose not to speak on the issue, did everybody think that should be the government's position and therefore that's okay? When you counter the fact that in the Premier's message, he encouraged respect and, we should all agree to disagree and just let the thing take its course, but nobody in the House, and that includes you, Mr. Miller, and I say that with the greatest of respect, but I'm talking about the principle of law and order and the respect that Parliament...
You will also admit that none of that came from me and my contribution. That my objection to this is not entirely based on the act that the fact that he legalized same-sex marriages. My greater concern for the country is what I believe is this overreach by the judiciary in interfering in a separate arm of government.
I understand that is a constitutional matter that will require a judgment from the Court of Appeal, right. and I acknowledge that you did not contribute to that sort of vitriolic rhetoric. But again, gentlemen, as senior members who've experienced and seen it all, that was one of the lowest and darkest days in Cayman's history, where you have our elected legislators who demand respect, who preach about respect and are talking about God, encouraging the average citizen out there, and again, I understand the emotive topic, but to the average religious zealot, who has the right to interfere with anybody's private ceremony to go and object to something that you weren't invited to? And nobody in the government stood up to say, hold on now, we got to draw a line on that now because that's not where we're going with this. That's the point that I'm making. This thing has now gone to the point where everybody with sense is acting like they have no sense when we are comfortable to condone, accept, and say nothing about that level of mismanagement, poor leadership, and ignorance. If that is where the country is headed on this one issue, why we can't do the same thing about poor people? Why can't we be upset to say that, Caymanian people are sliding into secondary and third world status, and we will fight and do whatever it takes to ensure that our people get a chance? Why aren't we doing it for public education? Why aren't we doing it for health care? Why aren't we doing it for crime? And the list goes on and on and on. But on this matter, 19 elected officials, including the Speaker of the House, who has the ultimate in charge of proceedings, nobody condemned, nobody had any sort of rebuttal or contradiction to what was said about trying to disrupt a private ceremony amongst two law-abiding citizens who are engaging in a private matter.
Point well taken, caller.
But I would also not say that, remember, under our marriage law, the purpose of having to issue a ban for 7 days is to give notice of the marriage so that any member of the public can object.
Sir, with the greatest of respect, any member of the public can object, but what we're talking about there, we were talking about one or two people that know the person.
In mass, yes.
We're talking about a potential riot, because what happens now if you have people that are emotionally charged on the other side going, hell no, I will not allow them to disrupt.
No, I share your concerns, but
my point is that sort of action, the lack of leadership, poor leadership, and the failure to condemn by the entire cabinet. In particular, those 3 cabinet members that chose not to speak, says to me they must think that way, or they must agree, or they condone that sort of foolishness, and that's not the country we want to live in. That's how you become the next Jamaica. That's how you become the next Bahamas. That's how you become the next Trinidad. Where does it stop if we have a sliding scale on what is a bad sin versus a sin that we accept?
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much for that. I think we gave you a long leash there, but you had very important things to say, and that those last points there are very important, very interesting as well. 2 callers still. Let's grab another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, James. Just a few quick. Yeah. One, if these women lose their appeal and they're already married, does that mean that the marriage is then null and void? Or if they appeal again against that decision and go on to the High Court, it can take for years and years.
If it is struck down, I looked at other legislation that similar things happened, and if it is struck down by a higher court, then that marriage, I believe, or based on what I've seen, would be null and void.
Oh, the other question, very short, is if they win the appeal, and before they have time to change the law, next week we have some people applying for the right to smoke ganja, and another people for the right that they are Muslims and are married to 3 women, and they want the right for 3 adult Cayman status. This is just to show the urgency for the Senate to change these laws.
Yeah, and even if you change them, that doesn't prevent a person from necessarily doing that if they have a case, but all will be adjudicated by the courts.
Mm-hmm.
All of those examples that people are raising now, what if this, what if that, they will all have to be adjudicated by the court, and at some point in time they will go off a final decision.
But they will be adjudicated on the basis of this precedent standing where judges can write legislation and enact legislation from the bench.
I hope it's very quickly. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. One more caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor, and good morning, Mr. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
I have just one question and one observation. The Chief Justice, and we all know that he sat on a case similarly in Bermuda in December of last year, and a case that had an outcome in which he was a part of.
Right.
So wasn't it by law that he would have had to declare that before he sat to make a decision on this particular case, which he's already been influenced by another committee in which he was a part of in Bermuda? So one would have to believe that his decision would have already been biased because he had already sat and went over the laws in order to arrive at that decision. Because I would think that a case that came to a head in June of last year, and none of the circumstances changed in the case, that he would have been able to sit and had a decision on that prior to sitting in December at the Bermuda Council. So I just feel that if we're looking at the law, he would have had to make a declaration that he had sat in a very similar case in one of the other jurisdictions, and a decision was made. So I would have to say that his decision would have had to be influenced by that experience in Bermuda, and he would have had to declare that of a matter of transparency. I'm not 100% sure what the laws require in that regard, but I'm pretty sure that when a judge or a lawyer is taking part in a case that has some level of biasness or activity prior to it, they have to make that declaration. And I just wondered if that's an issue, Mr. Miller, because I think we need to look into that.
The standard verbiage that the judicial can tell you is that they often have to make different judges in different cases, but each judgment is based on the evidence and the law before them. But I have similar concerns to you, and I have expressed those earlier.
Okay, caller. My point on that would be that we had an eminent QC representing the government
who could have raised
And
the
it
issue.
wasn't raised by that QC, and I'm sure that QC would have known the circumstances because, he is a constitutional lawyer and he does follow these things, that he would have been aware of the Chief Justice's involvement in the Bermuda case. And based on at least the summary that was issued, I haven't seen the full decision, but based on the summary that was issued, it does not appear as if anyone asked for or objected to the Chief Justice hearing the case.
Right. Well, my only other thing then too, Mr. Connor and Mr. Miller, is not because the QC that we thought was well qualified to handle the case didn't ask the question, still doesn't excuse or doesn't really definitively say that he didn't have to declare.
Yeah.
Because if the law states that he had to declare, and because our QC failed at his duties to ask the question, then we have an issue on hand. So I'm just saying that it's something maybe we need to look into to verify whether or not he had to declare. Anyway, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you very much. Very, very good point. One of our listeners says, Mr. Connor, question from Mr. Miller. I have been listening to you speak on this issue in the Legislative Assembly, and my thoughts are you trying to please everyone in your comments? Do not straddle the fence on this one. Are you straddling the fence?
No. It's not. I just said I came out 3-4 weeks ago and declared what my personal position is, and I don't back down from that. And I am not really known for straddling in the fence. Most people don't get uncommitted opinions from me as if you ask me a question about where I stand. I have stated publicly that I thought the government, the Legislative Assembly should have dealt with this, and we should have introduced civil unions, which gave all of the rights that marriage gives, and we could have also at the same time taken care of all of the Caymanians who out there living in what we Caymanians call common law marriages, because they are still left out with no rights. Okay. And nobody but me seems to be advocating anything for them at all, right? But getting back to the emotive aspect of this.
What we'll do, we'll take a commercial break first, and then that'll give you more time to talk. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place, helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
It is amazing to see my daughter grow up and make a difference in the world, but it is also completely terrifying to worry about her when she goes out with her friends. It is my job as a father to make sure she makes smart decisions and is safe as a young woman. So, when my daughter needs quality care, I take her to CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10. On sale now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky. See you at the games.
Carifta 2019. It's all about unity.
Get Get your tickets now at CaymanCaribta2019.ky. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government, CUC, Salt Technology Group, the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, DART, Miracle Broker, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, World Gym, and Radio Cayman.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Mr. Miller will be leaving us at about 9:30 because he wants to make sure that he is at the LA in time. And of course, my comments off to the air to him, and I'll say it on air as well. You probably will be the first one down there because, unfortunately, the LA does not ever seem to start on time. And for various reasons, some may be justifiable as well.
There's none. There's none that justifies it. We should be starting on time and we should be finishing at 4:30. The framers of our standing orders thought out the process. If we start at 10 o'clock, we have all ministers can come to their office, set the day's work before they come down to the LA. If we break at 4:30, they get back to the office before the staff leaves at 5:30, and they can find what's going on. But I want to respond more to that person's talking about me sitting on the fence.
Yes.
One of the things that is troubling in this whole debate, and whether whatever side of it you fall on, right? I don't think that it's okay for one side to be allowed to come out and advocate for their position and be so intolerant of other side views. Neither side should do that. We should have tolerance and respect for each other's views. But it seems to be that as long as it is the LGBT making noise, it's okay. When the Christians, whether you agree with them or not, when the Christians come out and start defending their position based on their beliefs, all of a sudden it seems to be, society seems to be it's okay to attack them personally. And castigate them and call them all kinds of stuff, you know. But it's not an easy thing to deal with, but we need to deal with it.
Okay, we have about 2 more callers. Hopefully you can stay here and we take those calls. Mr. Miller, first caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Yes. You know, it's so interesting, shall I put it that way, to listen to this debate about the what we know in the Cayman Islands. I don't know them as same-sex marriages or gays. I know them as outright queers. Okay, that's me. They try to polish it up and fine-tune it like it's the norm of the day and it's okay. Tell me something, gentlemen. Have we not read and heard about all of the people? Just put it that way. I don't know. I wouldn't call them pastors or anything else. In other countries who have molested little boys from organizations, and they had to pay an enormous amount of money to all of these little boys. Now tell me, and pay attention, not just listen, I don't mean to be insulting, but pay attention to what I'm saying. What is so nice about this thing that they want to pretend that it's nothing wrong with it? And the thing that really gets to my brass is this. We know that you have some people in the island, and we don't go boring in to see what they're doing. But to have the audacity in the Cayman Islands to say that you want to be married in the Cayman Islands, and the judges and everybody else say, oh, that's okay. I think, gentlemen, that is the outright most outrageous thing that we could have in the Cayman Islands. But what the good book said, you know, in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, so shall it be in the last days. And I will say this morning, Mr. Miller, any marriage officer that is appointed or has permission to marry anyone in the Cayman Island, they should have a good Cayman religious background of what we do, where we're coming from. Not anyone that can just come in and get a marriage license and say, give me $150 and a bottle of Bacardi, and there you go. It is outrageous, and I will say this morning, I don't hate them, but I hate what they do, because I try to live a normal life, and it's outrageous that some people think, well, that's okay. If that's what you want to be, keep it to yourself. Do what you have to do if that's your thing, but don't come into our face and say that we have to marry you. That's abomination to the lowest, in my opinion. There's nothing right about that. But most of these people that you see talking about this, I can almost guarantee you, in my opinion, they have no religion background, no religious background, no respect for God, and nothing for man. Gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, and me. Have a pleasant day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a few voice notes as well, but we will take the callers that are holding first, because we can always play the voice notes after Mr. Miller leaves. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, For the Record.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I really don't know what to say now, because there's so much that's going on with this issue that I really don't know what to say. I'm not for that. But yesterday at work, and my co-worker, which is an English lady, she has been here some time, she was listening in, and she told me what Minister O'Connor Conley had said. And she said, well, being a Christian, how can she do something like that and tell others to do it? And, I thought about it. And now when Mr. Moxham called in, it just came to me all the more. I mean, whether it's two men or two women or a couple getting married, how would you like a crowd to come there and say to you that you should say to the pastor when he asks the question that they should not get married? And as a Christian, I don't think that she should really encourage that, She should not encourage that. There's a part in the Bible that says, avoid it, do not travel on it, turn away from it, and pass it on. And I really don't know what to say, but I think she should consider that statement. I am not for them getting married and so forth, but I'm not 100% with her with that, because if that she isn't doing what she should do in telling the people of the islands that they should do that, that's so vicious. And I would have thought it wouldn't have come from her. She, being the devout Christian that she says she is leaving me in tears. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much, caller, for that as well. There's something I want to share before you leave, Mr. Miller. It says in paragraph 34 of the summary of executive summary of the judgment, it reads, the evidence shows that from September 2017 to April 2018, the petitioners sought, with the help of their attorneys, to work with the governor's office to encourage a reading of the marriage law which would allow for same-sex marriages or, alternatively, legislative change. This included a letter of the 1st of December 2017 from Mr. Tonner, QC, on behalf of the petitioners to Her Excellency, the Governor, Mrs. Helen Kilpatrick, in which an explanation of the petitioners' legal arguments was set out in order, quote, in order to find a non-litigious solution to the discrimination faced by the petitioners, close of quote. Under the heading Executive Summary, it offered the following response to a request from the Governor's Office as representative of Her Majesty's government, that the petitioners set out the various options which they perceive to be available to ensure their partnership rights are guaranteed. You say we summarize the position as follows. The Cayman Islands is obliged under the European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR, to allow Chantel and Vicky access to an institution that provides the same package of rights as marriage, example, via marriage itself or civil partnership. The current situation is clearly a violation of the European Convention on Human Rights. The United Kingdom is ultimately responsible for the Cayman Islands' breaches of the ECHR and for remedying them. Civil partnerships is a bare minimum. Marriage is the standard to be achieved. If the issue is litigated, arguments can be made that under domestic Caymanian law, marriages must be offered to remedy the inequality that exists in the Cayman Islands. Indeed, the UK government's position is that all UK citizens should be entitled to marry in the same marry in their home jurisdiction, as has been stated in respect of marriage inequality in Northern Ireland. Goes on to say there are 4 options available to remedy this breach. A. Introduce by order in council the equivalent of the UK's Equal Marriage Same-Sex Couples Act 2013. B. Introduce by order in council the equivalent of the UK's Civil Partnership Act. Or C. Chantel and Vicky apply to the governor for a special license to marry, and the application is granted on the basis that the governor has an obligation under Section 24 of the Bill of Rights and Section 5 of the Cayman Islands Constitution order to construe the marriage law in a way which gives effect to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Or Chantel and Vicky apply to the governor for a special license to marry, and the application is refused, thereby forcing Chantel and Vicky to litigate. It is quite clear that an olive branch was held out to the authorities in terms of finding a solution to these 2 young ladies' issue and finding a solution to it. That was not done. I see also in the executive summary where the Chief Justice also relied on proceedings in the Legislative Assembly and goes there, on to quote a former member of the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Klein Glidden, as well as our Premier, Honorable Alden McLaughlin, in those as well. Is it that the Chief Justice also, despite other aspects of his ruling, saw that attempts were made and that the government of the day was entrenched in its position to not give any sort of access to this couple?
Well, I don't know why I can't read the Chief Justice's mind, but my position is that even if he felt that way, that don't give him a right to set a timetable for the Legislative Assembly or to interfere in the political process. It's a political decision, and I have a response to the HRC thing right, and it says courts in England, Canada, Australia, and elsewhere have always said that they will not interfere with essentially political decisions. For example, where a government fails to bring a law into force after being enacted, the courts have always said that this is a political decision and have refused to interfere. What the Chief Justice should have done is made a declaration of incompatibility and leave it there with reference to the court. Because how come, I wonder now if he would be prepared to enact the standards in public life law, right? Which would require certain activities by certain people.
But isn't that a political decision not to?
I agree. I don't think he has the authority to do so. But what I'm saying is, at what point we have to understand that we have a Westminster form of government. We have 3 distinct arms of government. The judiciary is one and is very important. The Legislative Assembly is one that is also very important. The administration headed up by the governor is the 3rd arm, which is very important. And some countries refer to the press as the fourth arm. I wouldn't give them that kind of distinction here. I don't think they're any arm at all.
Wouldn't give them a leg either?
No. But it is, we get chastised on almost every opening of the Grand Court. The legislative assemblies are chastised by the courts in their interpretation of whether we have done what they thought we should do for them. That's bad enough. But if we get our standing orders specifically prohibit us from criticizing the Chief Justice, the Governor, and other people, right? As you heard last night when the Attorney General got up and intervened on behalf of the Chief Justice. So we have to be, my concern is that we need to reverse this interference because we are equal. We are equal parts of the administration of good governance in the Cayman Islands. Neither of us have the authority over the other. My bigger concern is that if we do not arrest this, what I regard as interference in the political process and the Legislative Assembly by the Chief Justice ruling and his extended interpretation of an extraordinary interpretation of Section 5. Because let me tell you how narrow they interpreted Section 5. It seemed legal. I didn't take it to court because I didn't have the means. But you remember me carrying a motion to the LA to say that I'm trying to get the government to declare that using Section 5, the interpretation of the election law, of the Constitution, not the election law, but of the election law, had to say that in the 2013 election, although you had multiple representatives, you could only give one vote because it said to vote for Anne. And I was chastised, and Anne could be plural and all this kind of. With Anne, in the same paragraph, Anne was determined to be singular twice, but on the third time it was used, it was magically plural. So this is the kind of interpretation that occurs to laws. And I had to take the legal opinion and the chastisement that I got about it, right? But as I get back to the fact that if we lose the appeal, the Legislative Assembly has to get busy to restore its independence from the judiciary. And we don't want a tit for tat. I am not promoting a situation where we must interfere in them. Remember that the judges, how they object to a political decision that fixes fines in laws. Not even that they want us to say. They want to have the discretion to apply what fine they want. And all our laws now say up to what sentence it is must be left entirely to them. They will not agree or support the Legislative Assembly making the political decision. Because remember, we had a case where for drug offences, jail was mandatory, right? And in a time now that you try to put in place anything that, how they call it, ties the hands, but he expects that what he did in this was chopped off our hand and took over the action.
Okay, we still have two calls. I'm going to ask your indulgence if you may stay on, Mr. Miller.
But I can really know how to go after that.
Yes, first caller.
I'm not going to make me late. Although if I get at 12 o'clock, I'll probably be on time.
Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. O.C.
Good morning, sir.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Morning, sir.
No one can say at all that you're a French straddler. I don't think. You're the distinct opposite of that. And anyhow, someone had mentioned earlier on, to say this really quickly first, about the U.S. Supreme Court taking the Bible out of school because of Madeleine Moynihan here's submission. She was an atheist, and her son later on turned against the decision publicly and all that. But it was a Supreme Court justice appointed by President Kennedy, a very liberal person. Since that time, one of the greatest scholars, he's passed away now, Judge Anthony Scalia. made the statement pointedly that there's nothing in the United States Constitution that suggests that the Bible should have been taken out of school. Absolutely nothing. It's public schools. Public schools. If it wasn't for the United States powerful Christian presence of millions of people, millions, tens of millions, there, the Christian world would be much greater, oppressed all around the world now if it wasn't for that one being Christian country. With this issue here, it is it doesn't the governor here has the authority invested by Her Majesty, since I think a part of the Constitution says that the governor is not required to consult with the courts or has to report to the courts when he's carrying out Her Majesty's orders, signed orders. So does he have the authority to tell a Chief Justice what to do in certain issues that are so important?
Not with the independence of the judiciary.
Not under our Constitution.
Yes, okay, so he does not have that authority. Doesn't have it. It seems to me like you're all right, that the separation of powers must play an important part in this, and like this could set precedent, the dangerous precedent, that what you all are saying as our elected representatives, we still have that stronghold of democracy here, a democratically elected legislative assembly. We have to remember, as Mr. Ossie had said earlier on, someone told me what I've said about being a crown colony. We didn't listen to gentlemen like Mr. Ormond Panton, that tried over 60 years ago and so forth, about what we would face. And it is true, as long as we continue with this relationship, we have to realize there's a price to pay. A price to pay. We know there's a price to pay also for becoming independent. But we have a duty, sort of, to let our people understand the two things: that we can prepare ourselves. It is very difficult because we're a country without any real natural resources. I mean, that could bring us money, factories, mining, so forth, or producing large amounts of things to export. We are totally dependent on people's big monies and on like banking, on the financial world, and so forth, with no real presence here. Just people working.
But that caller is making us what we are today, and we're doing that without natural resources. Why can't we continue? I think that is when people use that excuse, that's a sorry excuse.
That has nothing to do with the UK. It's a magical constitution, and that has to do with us.
I'm not using it as an excuse.
Okay, my apologies, Colin. My apologies.
Saying that is also something to overcome, a hurdle. Mm-hmm. We do not know. I, for one, do not think that the people involved in that big type of business really care whether there's same-sex marriage, whether they might care that we do not become independent, that we stay how we are, because they can live their fabulous high standard of living life here and so forth without that. So the pressure might come from that end not to try something like that. I know we can eke away at things and get certain more provisions and certain more strengths to our elected representatives, but we have to take this matter seriously. Our Constitution is written for the majority of people, and as Mr. Hart, I think it was Mr. Chris Saunders or one of them.
But it's also designed in a way to protect the minority as well.
Minorities also. All laws are more or less written that way when it comes to procedures, because we have to remember one thing. We can say that the British government says that we are all equal citizens. Yes, by our passports clearly say so. The British passport says the same as ours. This is a property remains the property of the Crown at all times. That's what it says. It was changed a few years ago from Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom. But that means since they have the ability to go to the United States without a visa, shouldn't we then say we're equal citizens? We should have the same abilities without having, they have their multi-entry visa. They can go straight in there. As we know, there are other things that will never be equal in life.
Caller, I want to ask you to leave
We
it.
should legislate equality, but we can try to do something about the beliefs of the majority superseding the minority. That is democracy. That is why we have elections, to get a majority opinion. Or the elections are
and that's where the courts are there to balance the scales at the end of the day. Caller, I want to thank you very much for that. Mr. Miller, it's 1:45. We're going to go to a commercial break. I know you have to leave, and very quickly,
3 announcements.
The leader of the opposition, what's the position with that?
I am the leader of the opposition. I remain the leader of the opposition. I have the
Folks,
support
you heard that.
of the majority of the group.
You heard that.
And you heard what I declared. If they bring me a letter saying that they want me and it's signed by people, I'm an honorable man. I will resign and hand it over to whomever they want to hand it over to. But they got to do it properly. Okay? But I have 3 announcements.
Sure.
We're planning a function for the Olympic athletes that won the gold medal in the basketball. 2 of the members of the team are from Northside, so we're doing a function for them, and we were trying to arrange it for this Friday night, but because of other some logistics, we've had to put it off until Friday, which would be the 13th, I think it is. And then I just need to remind our senior citizens that our senior citizen program at the United Church is now every Tuesday. And I want to begin to talk to people about the camping in the constituent of Northside in the Rum Point area for the Easter weekend. The Dart conglomerate has opened up the gates to their property, and they will be allowed to camp there, but we expect people to respect other people's property, to bring carry all that you brought with you, include the garbage, or we're going to have containers that you can put them in. But we want to encourage you to come up. Feel free to come up and enjoy the beautiful district of Northside camping for Eastern, but be respective of other people's property and treat it as you would how other people treat your own. So with that, OC, I got to get down to the Legislative Assembly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to close off the phone lines after that because we have a few voice notes as well that we want to play. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush?
when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say yeah. I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500 like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10. On sale now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky. See you at the games.
Carifta 2019. It's all about unity.
Get your tickets now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government, CUC, Salt Technology Group, the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, DART, Miracle Broker, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, World Gym, and Radio Cayman.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Mr. Miller has left for the Legislative Assembly, and for those of you who wanted to know about his position as leader of the opposition, he says he's still the leader of the opposition. Anyone wants him to resign, they need to bring a letter with 4 signatures asking, for that to take place as well. And until then, he is still the leader of the opposition. We have some voice notes, but before I go there, we just have one email as well, and it says, there are a couple of quick questions. To whom do we make an appeal against the Chief Justice's ruling? Isn't the next level of our courts the Privy Council? No, it would be the Court of Appeals and then the Privy Council. And the person goes on to say, it is my understanding that the appeal is not against the ruling, but against the authority of the Chief Justice to make such a ruling. Is that right? I would venture to say I believe that is, but clarity can be obtained on that, I believe, if we go back to the debate in the Legislative Assembly, or in not the debate of the Assembly, but the Premier's statement. I'll try to find out and see if I can cover that before the show is over. Let's go to the voice notes.
Mr. Connor, I see in all of this, after listening to everything, believe me, as the saying goes, my people. You got to watch them, listen to them carefully, because many of them are speaking out of the 2 sides of their mouth. Many of them are sitting on the fence in this situation. And I know Cayman has gay people before. A lot of my friends are gay, and I've even discussed with them, no matter how much I love you, my gay friends, trust me, I don't believe I will come to your wedding if you're married to some person of the same sex. And we agreed on that. So I don't understand, why is it that we are having to go through all of this? But you know something? You know who got to be watched in this? Our own people. That's who has to be watched. Okay.
Okay, the next one, Paul. And if you have any time after, we will take calls.
Mr. Connor. Mr. Connor, the last verbal comments that I made there, forget about them. Just throw them out the door. Don't play that one, okay? If you get this message, then just give me a thumbs up. Okay, thanks. Anyway, I will still leave it up to your judgment call. If you think that my message should still be played, go ahead and play it. Go ahead and play it. If not, well then I won't hear it, and I think that you're thinking, well, it's not necessary. Thank you very much.
Okay, we still have some time, so we're going to take another call. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, and good morning, Mr. Miller.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller has left
okay,
for the LA.
Well, I just called in, OC, because I just like to say that I am extremely, extremely pleased with the way in which our legislative body has handled this situation with regards to this Chief Justice ruling. If they don't stand up to the ruling that the Chief Justice made of this sort, then any Chief Justice can come and make further rulings that would impede the norms that we have in this island. Secondly, I have friends that are gay and openly gay, but they're my friends. I'm not discriminating against them, but why should we change the way that we have lived to accommodate just a few? That's not necessary.
But should we find a way to accommodate them in some way?
I think we already did. I think that years ago it was no longer. I think buggery was taken off of the books.
In the privacy of their homes.
In the privacy of their homes. Mm-hmm. What more can we do now? We'll see. I don't see no more we can do now.
So you don't think civil partnerships would that's not acceptable to you either? Because some of the questions in relation to that is their ability to do certain things legally, pensions, things of that nature as well.
Well, see, that's a bit tough. I mean, the laws of the land remains the laws of the land, mm-hmm. and like I said before, I just can't. Or say, I for the love of it, I cannot see why we should change our laws to suit just a couple. That's all I'm saying, bro.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Good point. We're going to squeeze another call in. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning. OC?
Yes, good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, and yourself?
I am fine. I'm much better mood now than I was just now, but anyway.
You got a better reception over on this end. You got a better hearing over on this end.
Yeah. Listen, I want Caymanians, electors, to stand behind their elected representatives on this matter. Mm-hmm. Let me say this, please. I am not saying make a decision about whether or not same-sex marriage should be allowed. That's not the point I'm trying to make right now. The point I'm trying to make right now is that we, the people of the Cayman Islands, through the power of the vote that we received through the Constitution, elected 19 people in faith. We believe that they were the best people to fill those seats in the House, right? We believe that when push came down to shove, they were going to stand for us and they were going to stand in our best interest. We believe that they were going to stand in accordance with the Constitution. Now, those 19 people, I sat in that legislative assembly for 2 days. I think everybody, well, not everybody, but many people know I have a serious back problem. So sitting on those hard gallery chairs was not easy for me. Mm-hmm. But I endured it because I wanted to be a part of, I wanted to know firsthand what it was that was going on. Regardless of whether or not that the ruling itself is pleasing to the people, the process should have us all in an outrage. And we should be standing firmly behind the 19 people who said, the people put me here to do a job. The people put me here to defend the Constitution and to defend democracy, to make decisions in their best interest, to make and amend laws. They are the only ones who we have given that power to. The Chief Justice should have made his declaration of incompatibility and sent it back to the Legislative Assembly building. That was what he should have properly done.
But would you agree? Would you agree?
One moment for me, please. OC, let me finish this part and I'll answer any question.
Sure.
Please. We cannot afford for judges to make and amend laws and force them also. That's a separate power, and like I said earlier today, the day that a politician crosses over that pedestrian crossing and walks into that courthouse, are going to catch him by his collar and carry him back home. He belongs across the street. He don't belong over in the courthouse. And we need to stand for the people who are standing for us. We gave them that job. We gave them that responsibility. Now, if we, the people, don't stand behind them and instead, in fact, attack them for them standing for the Constitution, what are we saying to them then? How will they be able to stand for us in the future? Because when they don't stand, we attack them. Mm-hmm. When they do stand, we attack them. What are you really supposed to do? And how are they supposed to do it?
Don't you think that the Chief Justice, you say that he should not have, but are you in agreement that he had other options, that one of the option that he took, that he has the legal right to do that, not being a lawyer? I don't know if you're a lawyer or not, but, do you agree with that?
I'm not a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I am a law student.
Okay.
One of the first things that I learned was about the separation of powers and why the separation exists. Mm-hmm. And the key part behind it is to avoid arbitrariness, to avoid dictatorship, to avoid a convolution of duties and powers and stuff. It is the safeguard to democracy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right?
Caller, we've reached 10 o'clock.
I'm not challenging.
We've reached 10 o'clock. I'm sorry I have to interrupt you. I'm past my time that I'm allowed, and I apologize for that. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you, we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Draining Banks at 12:15 for talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.